back. You're still watching Morning Live. Now, we here at Morning Live have seen the need to celebrate young artistic talent here at home and on the continent by highlighting and in some instances introducing you to some of the most creative young minds we have. We will take the time to shine that spotlight every Saturday morning around about this time, 7:45. First up on the list is one of our regulars here on the program. I think you should get an Nexus card, this guy. With these fresh, original and on-the-pulse delivery, Thabiso Mohare has made a remarkable impact on the spoken word scene. The young wordsmith who is known as AFURAKAN is also behind one of the continent's fastest growing, much loved and hardest working poetry companies, Word and Sound. He joins me now to tell us more about himself, the art of words and word and sound. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Live.
Morning, Lebo. Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year. Are we still saying Happy New Year?
Until end of January.
For the purpose of people who may not know, I mean, how did the AFURAKAN name come about?
Sure, it came around 2001. I used to be an MC, you know, I still rap, but then I started, you know, getting involved with spoken word. And I came across some research that spoke about a ancient African civilization that had own system, 13 months calendar, everything was backwards. It was called the AFURAKAN calendar. And for me, it felt like a much more sort of balanced, you know, lifestyle than what we live in now with the Gregorian calendar and the Roman clock and so forth. So for me, that's where the inspiration came from. So when I investigated further and I found out that, look, this is an actual civilization that used to be in North Africa, and some of the systems they use, we're still using today. So for me, and AFURAKAN means Africa. So it was like, I'm African, you know, so it was just a natural, just, what you call it, mix.
Yeah. Spoken word, though, it's a craft on its own. It's a speciality on its own. What made you find comfort in that? I
think the ability to say what I want to say. Look, yes, there's still format, there's still, you know, technical approach to spoken word, but I think for me, more than hip hop, I think spoken word allowed me to say a lot more, you know. I wasn't restricted to 16 bars as, like hip hop, and also just exploring different kinds of writing. I think at a time when I jumped to spoken word and poetry, hip hop was starting to speak about things that I could not, you know, endorse and identify with. So I think for me, hip hop, spoken word allowed me also to practice critical thought, to get into issues, whether political, sexual, identity, but to start looking at myself as a young person, start interrogating what I'm going through, and start interrogating the world around me, you know, from the mundane to the political.
Who groomed you? Who inspires you? Who helped shape this dream?
A lot of people. I mean, I grew up in the Newtown era, 2000 until 2006, you know, so I got to watch the likes of Lebu, Dumi, I got to watch Kabomu, I got to watch Bukhafela, Kojo Bafo, you know, so I'm from that generation, watching all of these grown-up people do their thing as well. But I think a lot of my schooling comes from just workshopping, traveling, meeting up with a lot of writers, participating, reading. Like, you cannot be a writer if you don't read, you know. So reading, understanding the classical styles of writing, whether it's sonnets, sestets, and so forth, haikus, just understanding that if I'm going to break the rules, I need to know what the rules are. So going back and redoing Shakespearean poetry, which I hated in high school, but just understanding where poetry or written culture comes from, especially in the African context as well, you know. So a lot of it has been self-taught, but also engaging with a lot of credible writers and getting some skills from them as well.
I want us to take a look at this clip. I wonder if it's ready, Thabiso, at the moment. Let's take a look at this clip, and then you must explain, you know, the feeling that goes into this, because it's something else. Well, we don't have it at the moment. I wanted us to take a look at one of your performances. You know, describe that on-stage feeling. What is it?
I think being on stage is different, because when you're writing, you know, you're by yourself, you're able to explore certain issues, put it out the way you want. But when you get on stage, a certain character comes on, you know. One, there's an audience, so there's a technical aspects of performance, engaging, connecting with the audience, and so forth. But for yourself as well, there's an exorcism you go through, you know. There's always so much energy you leave on stage. You know, when you get off stage, you feel like you've gone through this ritual, you've gone through this process of sharing and emptying yourself, you know, and filling people with your thoughts and your words, you know. So it's always an interesting process when you get on stage, that you have to literally switch from Thabiso to AFURAKAN, and then after performance switch from AFURAKAN to Thabiso.
Word and sound is a movement now.
Yes.
From what started
as
How did you ever see it this big, and what was the vision when you started with word and sound, and now you're looking at it now, you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is it.
There was no intention for it to be this big, but I think it came from us refusing to give up on Newtown. I think around 2006, 2007, they started moving a lot of artists out of Newtown. I think they were preparing for the World Cup, you know. I think we refused to give up on Newtown. When I came back from Malawi, I found out there were no open mic or poetry spaces in Newtown. And I decided if I'm going to perform, I need to build my own platform, literally. You know, and that's how we started. We started with just a studio in Newtown with about 10 people. And now we are a globally recognized movement, you know. But a lot of it, I think, comes with timing. I think we came at a time where young people needed an alternative platform to be heard. They needed to move away from the mediocre, to move away from pretending that we are still partying, you know, for the last 20 years. We've got some real things we want to say now because we live in these conditions, you know, but we don't have an outlet. So I think Word and Sound provided that space. And without dictating to young people in terms of what they should and how they should talk about it, we just gave them a platform for self-expression. And they have shape the stage. I mean, we literally tell them all we can do is hire a venue and set up the sound equipment, but the quality of the show is based on the young people who come and interact with the show, you know. So if it's going to be a strong movement, it's based on the art that you guys bring on stage, you know. So I think we've been lucky that the timing was perfect, and then also getting support from a lot of organizations, a lot of established writers as well, you know, in trying to build this vision. So I think this year we're celebrating our 5th year, and it has been an amazing road.
All right. Thabiso, thank you so much for talking to us. AFURAKAN, well, that's his stage name. He's one of the first young creatives. He is one of the country's favorite spoken word artists and co-founder, come CEO of Word and Sound, which he calls a live literature company. Mohare was this week's young creative here on Morning Live. Visit them, www.wordandsound.wordpress.com for more on him and the movement, or feel free to follow him on Twitter. His handle is at AFURAKAN. Actually, let's ask him to leave with a little something of his spoken word. Thabiso, we'll take a break and then we'll ask him to do it for us after this. Stay with us.